Do you have blue ink?
Yes.
Could I borrow your blue ink? Because I don't know where mine is. Oh, there's one there? Okay. All right, thanks. All right. So here, I'll give you your pen back because there's another blue one down there. Thank you. Okay, so you keep one? You keep one?
No,
Those are both your copies.
Oh, okay.
Do you need a copy too?
no, I just take the board copy and put it in my notebook.
All right.
I'll keep it for us. Okay.
Okay, the minutes have been approved by consensus. Ms. Fair?
I just want to remember to get a copy of the signed one for my records whenever we're done.
Okay.
Because I don't have a copy of the chart. I'll get you. Now I don't have a copy of the chart. Is there that? There you go.
Okay, by consensus, the minutes have been approved. We're now on item number 3, write and review problem statements. The party started to write problem statements at the last meeting. It looks like there were 2 problem statements that were started. I don't know if they're completed. And so, however the parties would like to proceed is what we'll do.
Number 3 and 4 we did. 2-year contract.
Personal 2-year contract, so we should be on the 5th. Number 5.
As we were going through these, Mrs. Fair, we did notice that, you know, they're not really necessarily problem statements, but they're more shared interest statements.
Well, they really are. We talked about that last time, saying, did we really do a problem statement or not?
Right.
Okay.
So that was, you know, our discussion as well, is that, you know, these are more shared interest statements, which are good. But
So do you want to start over then?
We want to go over and
How-
continue to work on those, or what do you think?
I think we're good to go.
I think they're okay. I mean, they're
The problem statement's in there somewhere, probably.
Good enough.
you can decipher the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
So we're on flex days then?
And what are we on?
So we're on 5.
Yeah, flex days, yeah.
Okay, so,
So that would take us to
Flex PD days.
5. Flexibility of professional development days. Who wants to write?
I'm close.
I would nominate Mr. Fay to write. We can actually read his writing. That's good. Okay, so,
What we kind of discussed on our problem statements was to encourage teachers to go and attend content-based training in their professional assignments to be utilized directly in their classrooms.
I think our interest would be to improve student learning. And how we get to that is how you maybe get to the problem statement.
So if we take a look at the problem statement then, is how do we get our teachers to go to the content or to the trainings that will directly benefit their students in their classrooms?
So put flexibility of whatever, so that'll help us focus that helps me focus if I see it written. A PD, okay.
So,
So I need a little bit more of information. How many days do we have now? What is the process now? What, can anyone answer
Currently, right now,
that?
how many professional development days do we have?
We have 4 professional development days in the calendar,
Okay,
and teachers can request professional development opportunities throughout the course of the school year. There's a professional development committee that reviews those applications. and either approves or disapproves of the applications.
If an application is approved, however, they would still, that's on their own time. So if I go to 3 days of AP training over the summer, as I did a couple years ago, that's my time. That was taken out. So what we're looking for is, like, especially CTE people who almost have to go to that August conference. You know, can they use that day or 2 days, whatever, to substitute for one of the professional development days? Because that directly impacts their students and the learning.
The professional, yeah, that's mostly correct. There's just one other piece, that not all professional development applications request professional development opportunities during the summer.
Right.
There are a number that request those opportunities during the school year, and the school district hires substitutes for those activities.
What was it you said, Jim? I mean, I thought that sounded pretty good. Do you remember?
Well, how did I say that?
How do you say what?
How to get the training or whatever
Yeah.
to benefit kids or something along that lines, but I don't remember.
Dr. Sullivan, do those days then count towards the professional development if it's something that they request and is approved? Does it count towards the professional development day now?
No,
Okay, so they can request, but it doesn't count towards one of the 4?
that's correct.
Okay, that's, off the top of my head, that's the best I can think of, Jason. To get teachers to do the training that will directly impact their classroom students.
That's pretty close to what you
Yep.
said, I think. Okay.
That's good. Enough.
Okay. Okay.
Is there anything that anybody wanted to add to that problem statement that's provided on the board? No? Okay. Item number 6 is to adjust the lower half of the salary schedule.
Our problem statement that we kind of brainstormed was to reward the veteran staff similarly to the new hires.
Sounds good.
What did we write in here before? I was looking back to see what the discussion was.
So what I said earlier is to reward veteran staff similar to new hires.
What does that mean?
The adjustments.
Rewarding them similar, rewarding and similar. You mean like the percentages are similar, or what do you?
At the end of last negotiations in December, when, you know, because I made the statement, I negotiated for all of our teachers, not just the new hires. We were given you promised that we would take a look at the lower half to possibly adjust that lower half to meet what we adjusted at the upper half. Because you added .02 to your 0 through 6, but did not touch your 7 through 15.
Right, and that was because we have such a huge spread in our salary schedule that we are, and we needed to raise those newer teachers, or the ones on the 0 to 6, so they could actually make a living wage, and they could pay their rent, you know, if you sat and figured that out. And that was my main reason for doing that, was to be able to help the newer teachers be able to live in Dickinson. And to not have that spread.
Well, I think what you said works, because this is just a problem statement.
This is just
and
problem
we're not
statement, it's not
arguing anything,
discussion,
it's
no.
just problem statements, right?
Yeah.
Well, I might say instead of reward, I mean, I don't know how everybody else feels, but maybe just like we did before and say fairly compensate.
Okay. That's a good one. I
I don't
agree
know,
with that.
a fit reward seems to imply something different to me. Mhm.
Any other comments from the committee members? Okay. Item number 7 is grievance procedure.
You got the same thing? I figured you had this one.
I tried.
Not a policy, just procedure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah. We would like to have that grievance procedure be consistent, with timelines consistent and having it make sense. Right now, it's not.
So the problem.
Or there
the
aren't
consistent-
timelines.
The
Or there aren't
consistent,
timelines, or there aren't timelines even set for, like, for example, the superintendent has timelines, but on the other side, some of them, there's some timelines and then some there aren't.
so
not really sure
consistency
what
and
I'm-
timelines within the grievance
Yeah,
procedure.
Mhm.
consistent timeline.
Consistency is,
Defined, whatever, consistently defined timeline.
there you go. Defined procedure, timeline, yeah.
Consistencies and timelines within the grievance procedure.
That works.
Yeah, because we don't really have a problem statement because we don't have a problem.
Anything else? Item 8 is summer school placed on the salary schedule.
I guess the statement we came up with was irregular increases in summer pay.
That's the consistency thing, I guess.
Yeah, it's consistency. So consistency,
Consistent pay schedule, or whatever.
consistency, consistent pay scale, and summer pay. I'm good with that.
Okay, sure. Oh, I was looking on the deal here. I didn't see that either.
Ask them if everyone got that history. Did you guys get that?
Yeah. Oh,
But we got it.
you received the history?
Yep.
Okay. May I have a copy of it?
Oh, the history, yeah. I think I stuck it in here, yep.
Are we good with this one, Dr. Sullivan?
Just
You wanna
let
look
me,
at that?
bear with me for just a moment.
That
Just
one.
so,
Do you guys want this? It's just a copy.
just so the audience is familiar and aware of what we're talking about in terms of the history, the assistant superintendent prepared information back to 2010 on the pay for summer school. And in 2010, it was $24 an hour. Through 2013, it was $26 an hour, and beginning in 2014, it was increased to $28 an hour. And it sits at $28 an hour for the upcoming school year.
So it looks like every 3 years, or is it every 2 years, or something that it must be reviewed and increased? Or is that, am I reading that right?
Ms. Fair, my conversation with the assistant superintendent indicates it's been about every 3 years that the district has increased that stipend.
Okay. Can I ask, is it based on anything in particular? How that number's arrived at? I know we're getting a little far, I'm just curious, what, is it based, I don't know what it is.
But, our conversations have been that we just try to keep the wage set at a level that is roughly commensurate with the salary schedule in terms of close to the beginning wage, and that it remains competitive so that we can find people who are interested in providing summer school services.
So when you say close to beginning wage, do you mean the salary of a beginning teacher figured out on an hourly basis? Is that what you're meaning?
That is exactly what I mean. This is close, but it is not quite there. This is about, if you took it on an annualized basis by 7.5 hours a day, 185 days, this is somewhere in the area of 39,000 if it was annualized out.
Okay.
So is there anything else on the writing and reviewing of the problem statements from either party?
Anything you want to review? Problem statements.
Okay, that would take us then to item number 4, discuss topics of negotiations. Where would the parties like to begin?
Don't jump in.
Good question.
One comment that I could make that might help, that I was been thinking about is, Mr. Fay and Mr. Reap have met and have basically agreed on the money that's available and so forth, is what I understand. Pretty much everything on here costs money. So, and we know that we have we have this amount of money. So what I'm wondering is, how do we want to proceed with that in mind? If you start with the smaller items, and we agree on those, that's going to subtract from the total amount of money that's available. Or we could look at them and say, well, how much is this going to cost? You could go just generally, how much would this particular item cost? How much would this item cost? And then maybe we would prioritize that way. I don't know, I just started thinking about that with all these 8 items, or 7, not counting salary.
Right.
And we have this amount of money that you've agreed that we're gonna work on. What are your thoughts? Do you have thoughts on that? Otherwise?
It doesn't matter to me.
Well,
Salary probably last.
if salaries last, then you'll know what's left,
Mhm.
and that's what would be
Right.
the raises. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, or you could do that first, and then you see what's left. I mean,
And the other one, I think that we can't really determine until the very end either, is the 2-year contract.
It'll probably go hand
You
in
know,
hand with the
because
salary and what's left.
that's
Okay.
what the salary and, so, I mean, I don't think that
Meat and the
can,
potatoes of the whole thing, so.
mhm.
So, Ms. Fair, just for
Yes.
clarification for the audience, just so that the chair is clear, also, your point is that these smaller items that require money will subtract from the total pot of money that would be available for the salary schedule?
That would be my understanding, so I just wanted the group to, if that's correct, then I wanted everyone to understand, if we go through and figure out the cost of every single item, there may be no money left for salary at the end, as an example, or there may be a small amount of money. You know, I know it all costs money of what we're looking at.
yeah, I guess
so-
I don't see anything that's gonna cost that much, so.
Well, no, but I mean, you just have less available there is, So that needs to be in the forefront of everyone's mind.
Mhm.
And what are some of the most important things that need to be addressed? And we've prioritized them according to what's most important to the teams.
Right.
So if you're taking,
Well, we
go
could start
ahead.
at number 2. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
second most after salary. It's the first one then, and that's outside contract days and stuff. Start that way, I suppose.
I'm okay with that, you guys?
Yeah.
So if we could clarify, we're gonna take salary and the 2-year contract off for now and come back to that? Is that that's what you like, that's what we'd all like to do?
And go in order other than those
And
two
go in the
things.
order then of the other items?
So just so I can
Is that right?
clarify, is the question that's being asked, which is the priority? Is it to put the money into salaries, or is it to address the other issues?
Yeah.
I think we have to address the other issues as well. I mean, just because, you know, yeah, it does all come down to money, but there is a certain amount of other things that we need to talk about in there as well. So,
So I think we could, the 2 years of salary, and actually probably the lower half deal would all be pretty much salary at the end, and the others we could go right in order, I would guess.
That's a good way to think about that, if you want to do it.
Because those 3 all
Yeah,
go
you have to
hand
do
in
that
hand.
one.
The other ones are
Like you
each
said, you have to do
separate.
that one before
Where's
you
your
start.
number?
Number 6.
Yeah.
It's number 6.
Oh, I see, it's up there.
yeah, and number 6 would have to come before
Before those?
salary anyway. Yeah.
Number 6 comes before salary?
Yeah.
So it sounds
That
like
would
we're...
still have, you would still have to have salary after number 6, because that would affect, again, the bottom line of how much would be available.
So we're going to...
Okay,
So
let's
we're
just
re-
do salary 2-year contract last and do the rest in order. Probably make most sense, huh?
Okay, so
Okay
we're
with
going
that.
to...
I'm okay with that.
If we're gonna go through them
Yeah.
anyway, I really
We
don't
got it.
care.
We have to touch them.
We get there.
Yeah,
Gotta
that's
talk to
true.
'em.
That's true, okay. So it sounds like we made a decision there.
Okay. Salary and 2-year contract will be placed at the bottom of the list for discussion, for order of discussion. And so the question becomes, do you want to start with outside the contract day compensation? And Mr. Fay, you had mentioned item number 6, to adjust the lower half of the salary schedule.
We can take that in order, that's fine. We can take number 6 in order.
So go 2 through, you're saying?
Yeah.
Go in
Start with
order.
number
Yeah,
2.
just take those
Do
two
it
out.
at the bottom and then
Yeah,
go
just to
back.
keep going in order.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, item number 2 it is, outside the contract day compensation.
I guess we'll ask a question first and foremost, because I think that could help alleviate and solve. The DEA would like to know, are there plans to have any other nights in the future other than like the title night that would be mandated by law at the schools that are title schools?
I would have to defer that to Superintendent Sullivan, because I'm not aware of anything additional that
For-
are in the plans.
For example, curriculum night.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have
Well,
a
that's-
knowledge of that?
The curriculum night is included in the strategic plan of the school district. And if it's not going to be implemented, then it needs to be removed from that strategic plan. And that strategic plan was developed by the School Improvement Leadership Team Committee and reviewed by the school board.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is incorporated into that document. However, obviously, the school board does have the authority to say that there will not be a curriculum night. I think part of the discussion that the parties need to have is whether or not it's important to try and meet with parents. And I think,
Well,
because
that-
it's unclear to me, I think perhaps because some comments were made at the last meeting about all time outside of the regular contract day.
Dr. Sullivan?
And some of those, that comment needs to be clarified
Oh.
for the school board so that the school board understands what that comment was referring to. Mr. Hanson?
Oh, I was just gonna ask if they had something defined if it's parent-teacher conferences.
Oh, no.
Anything like that, so.
What do you,
I think the main issue would be that curriculum night, because parent-teacher conferences are already compensated, with that day, and that's already there. Obviously, the title night, we talked about a couple years ago from the aspect that that's mandated by law, so that's kind of, but it only deals with title schools and those title teachers. I guess what their issue is, and it comes back down to what happened last year was a district mandated meeting after the contract hours. You have to be there type. And if we're going to mandate that they're there, I'm not talking about a teacher taking home test or grade at night. Heavens no, that's just something we do that as professionals. But when a district mandates that you will be at your school to do this, that type of, should be fairly compensated then.
well, I think for the school board, the important thing is that we want parents to be able to meet with their child's teacher and to be able to learn about the curriculum. That's really important. If it needs to be, I don't think you can cover that in a conference because you're supposedly talking about the one child, their child. So curriculum night, I think, is very important. It's part of our strategic plan. But also, I have a hard time going against the leadership team, which is composed mainly of teachers who are saying they want this. So I'd have a hard time saying we don't want it, because that's what has come forward.
And my only question why I asked
Yeah.
that was because if it was, it almost becomes a moot point for us. If it's going to happen, then we do need to discuss
Yeah.
the aspect. But if it's not going to happen, then we don't have to discuss it. That was why
Yep.
I initiated
Yep.
it with that question.
Well, I don't think there's not been any discussion about not having
Okay.
it, so.
So,
According to the sheet here from our training, our next step would be brainstorming potential solutions to the problem.
well,
And then clarifying each suggestion.
Right.
And then,
Well,
you guys all have this, so. yeah.
One solution, one brainstorming idea would be to make it voluntary. You want me to make it
Could we
right?
write them?
Can you write this
Would
down so that they
would it be
can-
okay if Mr. Reap writes them on?
I'm perfect.
You could write them on the paper or on the board, and we could take a picture of the board, whatever you want to do.
Okay, this is item 2 on your.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then 2, outside contract compensation. Do we need to write the problem statement on there again, or are we just going to do solutions?
We don't need a problem statement again, it's a brainstorming activity.
Okay, so we're
for
going to
possible
brainstorming.
solutions.
So to clarify, brainstorming, potential solutions can be anything, and they're, then we go back and clarify them after we get all those things on there.
Absolutely.
So let's brainstorm those solutions. You said one, though.
Voluntary.
And maybe, should we just say, if we're talking about outside contract compensation, are we really talking about curriculum night? Are we talking about anything else?
We're
Could we
talking-
just say, is it curriculum night or not?
A few years ago, when we discussed curriculum night at the table, we said, the teachers aren't against meeting at night with parents by any means, but when a second meeting comes up, and then a third meeting, and then a fourth meeting, so we're concerned that when you accept
Remember
one
that.
without pay, then when's the next one coming? When's the next one coming? And so we're basically concerned, obviously curriculum night started it. But would there be other ones that would be included with it? So if let's say 50% of our parents can't make this curriculum night, okay, so we'll have a second one this night.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Knowing there's probably a curriculum night, and from year to year, we don't know how many different days. I mean, is there something we could do, knowing there'd be 1 or 2 that might have to, if there's any past 2 you'd get paid for it, or anything like that, knowing there's gonna be at least 1 curriculum day probably each year, or just throwing something out.
We already
So-
grieved that this year, the one.
So what, are you suggesting that, well, a potential solution would be to possibly write it into the contract. What is specifically what is required and what would be paid extra. So change contract language.
And I remember the reason I threw that out there is because he said, you know, you take one and you have 2, 3, 4.
Because
So, I
we
mean,
started
there's-
with, and we started with the precedence of the title
Sure.
nights. And we were okay with that, and then the curriculum night came up, and that's when we started this discussion.
Yep. So it's just a thought, if you knew there might be 1
Yeah.
or 2 and nothing, past that, or, I mean, just an idea, I don't.
So let me go back. Are we still talking about a curriculum night? Or are we talking about anything that happens after 3:45? I want to, for me, just clarify.
Anything that's not voluntary, pretty much is what
Yeah.
you said, right?
Right,
Yeah.
that's mandated.
It's mandated. Okay. Yeah.
You know, and obviously, you know, it's already written into the contract that, you know, administrators, you know, for staff meetings and so forth, can have reasonable
So does
times.
that come up anywhere like chaperoning dances or going to music things, anything like that?
Is that included?
Because I don't know.
What are we including in this? You're saying everything.
Well, chaperoning dances isn't required, you
Okay,
know,
I didn't know.
right,
Okay.
Just looking. Yes.
but, you know, elementary music is, but, you know, that's, again, we'd have to discuss whether that is, you know, how that fits in. High school music is not, because it's figured in on the extracurricular schedule.
Okay.
So if we did do something, it'd have to be very well defined.
It would have to be very well defined, absolutely. Yeah. And we're knowing that as well.
What if you extended the day and then the principals were allowed some flexibility with an extended day? And it seems to me that when we talked about the grievance, some principals, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's uniform with trading off in the flexibility. And so maybe that's where some of the problem comes in, where some of the principals are very flexible and they're okay, and others maybe are not. I don't really know, but that's what I got listening. So is that is a possible solution.
Obviously, another possible solution is to pay them or to provide personal time.
Okay, so Vince, we can go back, is to extend the contract day. And then another one, I don't know if it has to be more defined flexibility for principals, or if you put it with extending the contract day and allow principals more flexibility. I don't know, but we can put it all up there. And then
And you
yours
said
was
pay them.
Money or
Pay
time,
with-
or pay with.
pay for time.
Pay for time.
pay for time, there we go. What else can you think of? You think of it, what else could we use for there?
How-
Just an example, like for curriculum night, would it have been possible to have it during the day or on an early release day?
Yeah, parents work at home.
Also, another
I mean, that's
idea,
an idea having it.
I don't know what parents' work schedules if they could come during the day. I
Right.
think that's a big thing, is looking at how many parents are employed on a, whatever, 8 to 5 or something. I don't really know that. Do you know?
Well, Yvette might, I mean, with how many people come to your music, you know, you always do a matinee
We do.
and
Yeah, most
it's
of the
a
time it is
handful, but
grandparents,
it's
aunts and
evening,
uncles.
yeah. I don't know, through my years as an elementary principal, it's maybe
That was just an
10%.
idea.
Yeah, my
Well,
question,
we can put it up as an idea.
my question on these solutions, are we just talking about solutions, or do
Yeah.
we discuss the solutions at this time? Or is it just?
No,
Well,
this
first
is
you-
brainstorming, it should
first
be
you-
any
Brainstorming,
ideas, should
Okay,
be.
so we don't actually go
Yeah.
discuss in detail, right?
No, so
No.
there's no problem putting something like that
Okay.
on there.
No.
You
No,
put
we can
anything
discuss
up
it.
and then we go
Yeah.
back and
That's what I
clarify the
just wanted to
suggestions.
So what was it?
During the day?
Early
Early
During the day or
release.
early release.
Early
So
out.
then it's not outside the contract.
Right.
Right,
Then
so-
it would
Make
be
it
a
not outside
problem
the
of
contract.
compensation.
Mhm. Mhm.
So is it a solution? Or, well, it kind of is.
For
It
that
is, but
specific
it is.
one?
Make
It's
it
a-
inside the
it's-
contract.
Yeah.
Whatever
It's a-
might else come up.
Well, it's a solution for curriculum night, or
Right.
something like that. It wouldn't be a solution, I don't know what else would come up, but
Right.
it may not be a solution for something else. Oh, there you go, yeah. make it happen in the
Yeah.
contract. Well,
We
that's,
just cut it off after that.
yeah. What did you say? Is that what you said?
No, I had the one up
Oh,
above.
I thought you had another one that you
Nope.
said. Okay. So what would be another, are there any other potential solutions? Are there?
Nobody?
I can't think of any right now.
Okay.
Okay, so now we go and clarify the suggestions. So be sure that we understand what we're talking about.
With voluntary, so many teachers have other obligations, to
Mhm.
organizations, to other jobs, to whatever it happens to be, and to make it voluntary would help. So those people who wanted to be there could be there. Those who had other obligations, or it's my son's birthday, could opt out.
So how would it work, though? How would it work if you made it voluntary? I mean,
And nobody
would-
volunteers.
And nobody volunteers. Or you don't have enough people to do it. I don't know, do you need the entire faculty at the school to run, let's just say curriculum night, since we're talking, do you need everybody there?
I'm going to defer to the elementary.
Do they have to be there?
The way we ran it at Lincoln, you would at least need to have one teacher per class, per grade level.
Okay.
We split into different grade levels and with the parents, so you'd have one per grade level.
Is that adequate, or was that too much? Was it about right?
Well, I mean, you wouldn't
Depends
want
on
to have
your grade
one.
level.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to have one teacher doing all the work.
Mhm.
Obviously, it'd be better if everyone was there, but
Mm-hmm.
for the amount of parents that we actually had come to curriculum night, one would have been fine.
Okay.
Honestly, 1 to 2 teachers.
I don't know this either, was there an instance where a teacher didn't come? Were they sick or out of town or whatever? And what happened in that situation? Does anyone know?
Not that
Or
I
did
know.
did everybody come? I can't imagine you had 100%, because somebody's usually sick or something.
Mrs. Fair, it was not 100%, and as far as I know, life went on. And, I mean,
It wasn't like unmanageable or something. That apparently the other teachers, however it was done in their building, covered for that. Or it was managed.
that was my understanding of the conversations with the principals.
Okay. So what do you think would happen if it was voluntary? We're gonna have curriculum night, we need to have it, and so we're asking for volunteers to run it.
Nobody.
Well, it could probably be done. I mean, it does go on. Things go on with volunteers. But
Well, if you would say to us, look, probably nobody's coming and you probably couldn't do it, then voluntary is not going to work.
That's not an option.
I mean, we need to, I'd like to understand that. Or could it be done another way? Could parent volunteers do this? Could you go to your PAC and say, we're gonna run curriculum night, we need parent volunteers to do it? Could that be done?
My opinion would be no.
You would
To
want,
ask the parents to try and explain the curriculum when we're inviting them. How to explain it.
Yeah.
I don't see that being successful.
so you'd want your professional instructors, teachers to be there to run it.
Absolutely.
So perhaps paraprofessionals would or would not be able to run it as well, right? I mean, you guys are teachers, you tell me that, okay. So you're saying, are you saying voluntary, well, may or may not work? Because you don't know what else might be
Exactly
happening.
right.
mhm.
It's unknown. Okay. Because you never know when you ask for volunteers. You could
Right.
have everybody up in the school showing up, and you could have no one.
Nobody.
Right, and you'd probably know that ahead of time, but still, you have planned this whole night out. Planned it out, okay.
So, want me to take that one since I said it?
Language and contract.
Well, we kind of both said that
Well, I
one, yeah.
was basically knowing we got probably a curriculum night, and say just for example, if we did a 2-year contract, not knowing right now at this time, we might have a curriculum night 1 year, not the next, or whatever. Languages just say, hey, if we have 1 or 2, whatever number it is, anything past that, we would pay for, or something like that, knowing we're probably gonna have at least 1 or 2. Just an idea.
Well, your language could say that it would include this, up to 1 or 2 in the, you could say something like that. You could include up to so many hours. It could include up to so many events. You could say, it will include curriculum night. And other than that, no. I mean, it could be specified in the contract to make it clear.
And that's still getting bargained in a salary ahead of time in the whole language anyway, so.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're technically still, if that's in the language of the contract, then technically you actually are getting paid for that, because that's in that language of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have to change the language of the contract to say that the day would be 3:45, or excuse me, 8 o'clock in the morning until 3:45 in the afternoon, with the
the
exception
potential
of.
of hours or day,
I
whatever.
don't think, the potential, I don't think that's a good word.
Well, if you
No,
say
you'd
you
have
had
to
8,
say
say
that
it
it
We'd have to say specifics.
Mm-hmm. So,
And
You couldn't have something like where you said up to 8 hours. If they didn't come
No,
up,
you could
it's no
say-
big deal.
1 or 2,
you could
two
say,
possible,
Mhm.
1 possible.
If you'd say 2 possible evenings and you didn't do them, then it's no big deal.
yeah, you would.
But then it goes to the aspect of what happens if it's my son's birthday? What happens, there's so many other options, other issues that arise out of it.
What if you have an additional job? You
Additional
have to
job.
find daycare.
You have to hire a babysitter, there's all sorts of things that come into play. And we got a lot of young teachers.
Well, and that
with
would be
kids.
the same thing if we paid for it too, and they were still required to come in. You're still gonna have that if you get
Then they
paid
have the
for it,
money
it's in the
to,
language or whatever, so.
I was looking for, where is that in the, here's the school calendar. Here's the school calendar. Will generally be
will normally be from 8 a.m. to 3:45. However, variations this time schedule will be made by the building principal to meet all necessary contingencies. Also doesn't show that all teachers will attend staff meetings in their building when called.
Well, you may say, however, it is understood that there will be a curriculum night, or there will be whatever hours, I don't know what it is, that would be, that is required to attend. Now, if somebody's sick or your child's sick, they're gonna work with their building principal on that, as it says here. It seems to me from what we heard with the grievance procedure, or the grievance, last time, it seemed that we're going to have to put something, we have to put something somewhere, that it has to be resolved. We cannot just say necessary contingencies. We heard from several people, they didn't understand what that meant, they didn't know if that meant they're required or not. So it seems to me this language right here, no matter what, in number 1, should be reworked to, not even if we maybe need to define some things
Yeah.
more, maybe, I don't know, necessary contingencies perhaps I would say maybe isn't the right word, right, the right phrasing. But,
And we went, with curriculum night this year under this, and it went to the grievance, and, you know, the solution on the grievance was to do the comp time, or, you know, the personal time.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the other, you know, pay for time, you know, either in money or comp. You know, money or personal. And I think that, to my knowledge, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, that was acceptable to most of the
Majority.
teachers.
If you go back to, just to the language in the contract, do you feel that no matter what solution we come up with, we need to do something with this language? Or do you think it's okay, no matter what solution we come up with?
Well, we've had this language for many years, but I agree, you know, what are necessary contingencies?
There may be some, it seems to me there was a phrase that was talked about when we went through the grievance procedure, and I don't remember what it was, but do you remember? We talked about something to put in there. I mean, we talked about a phrase that would replace necessary contingencies because we don't all understand what that means. Is it a tornado, or is it? Okay.
You know, in my mind, if I had to view something like that, it would be, you know, necessary contingency is if we're in lockdown at 3:45, you're not going.
Well,
Your
I
kids,
see.
your kids are still your kids.
Mhm.
I mean, that to me would be a contingency that would be on control of
Okay.
the school district.
Well, that seems to make sense to me. Yeah, that if there's something going on and you can't leave the building, you would stay there. And that would be a necessary contingency.
I had a question on how you figure out pay for like the curriculum, like, because some, on the grievance thing, some teachers came up and said they've spent hours getting the thing ready, and then it was an hour and a half or whatever there, and some didn't take them that long to get ready. So at what point are you gonna define how much time each person gets paid? Is it just the hours there, or is it prep time also included in that?
Well, we learned last time that no one was required to prep outside of their contract days, what the principals told us. So I'm not sure if what occurred. But yeah, you're right, we need to define, and maybe if that's part of the language, it's how many
It
hours.
would be, yeah, I would agree
Or
with that.
an event.
Yeah.
And
If
then
we
also,
write-
go
sorry,
ahead.
If we do write that in there, I mean, elementary is just included as of now. Is that going to include junior high, high school eventually? If it's in the contract, it would mean all, correct?
Could
I don't know if there's an
yeah.
all in there though. I mean, which part of it were we?
Well, or for curriculum night, I mean, are we
Well-
just talking elementary or?
Because
Well,
if
it's
you
a-
put.
it's not gonna be.
It says-
Right now it is.
It says teachers in
It just says-
DPS, so
Yeah.
should
It's already
be
generic.
should be everyone.
Okay.
And then on pay, how do you figure pay? Are you gonna take that you know, because right now it's like a salary, so do you divide that by 185 days? And
And
figure out
that's
the
what we'd have
hours?
to, we'd
And
have to
that's-
figure out, or would it be the stipend like you would
For
pay for
summer
the
school.
summer school? Or as it did this year, you know, the quarter personal day for the hour and a half that they did. I mean,
Is there a
there's,
preference on pay or personal time?
What was given as personal time?
what was given was personal time, and they said, majority of them said that they were good with that, because at least recognized that their time was valuable. And I know that the one thing is that the teachers want that flexibility to be able to utilize it at their discretion. You know, I know
Sure.
that
Yep.
the tickets, okay, you can leave at 3:15. Well,
Yeah.
teachers aren't going to leave at 3:15 when their kids are still there.
I'm just thinking probably for an HR standpoint, personal time might be, I mean, it's more for the principals to track, but as far as pay, to
Pay's
track
kind of a
all that,
nightmare.
figure that out, and probably be a lot easier just personal time than pay.
So can we go back and answer Mrs. Schubert's question, which was junior high and high school? So if you put in here, if you put that in here, what's happening now at the junior high and the high school for time outside of the contract day? And what would be examples?
Right now, I can't think of any example in the high school.
Junior high and high school, are there any examples there that you were aware of time outside of that happens after 3:45 that teachers are required to be at?
Not for curriculum night that I'm aware of.
Is there anything else? I can't think of
Mr. Fay
anything
knows
either,
the high
but.
school
They would,
better than
you know, I know we do a freshman orientation, a new
Oh,
student
yeah.
orientation, but that happens within the contracted hour.
Mhm.
You know, they do that on that first morning of professional development in August. And so that's within the contracted hours. So
Mhm.
beyond that, there's none that I can think of that require us, mandate us to be after hours.
And that, for the entire faculty at the high school, that's the way I recall the situation also. But I would have to go visit with Mr. Doctor or find some information in my office, but my recollection is there are certain instances when certain teachers do provide time outside the contract day for activities. And one that comes to mind, something with counselors, I believe.
Oh, okay,
But
So-
I would have to go find that information.
right, okay. I just thought if Mrs. Schuber's point is well taken. If we don't have all the information, I don't know that we need to know that before we say, put that in the language.
Right.
Or just make any decision that's going to affect all the levels.
So putting that in the language of the contract, would there be an issue then if elementary had to work one night, high school didn't? I mean, so there's, some had to work an extra evening, the others didn't.
I
so
already
then-
have to work 3.
So,
That
Putting
are
that in
not
language
compensated
contract might
for.
be tough then on that part. Because it's never gonna be even.
It's very difficult to make it even.
Mhm.
But I would agree that, you know, the language in the contract should be a little more specific.
It says here we apply the fair standards criteria next. I'm not really sure I remember what that is. Should I look that up? Do you have that? Do you know
Tab
what that
9.
is? Is it tab 9? Let's take a look. Methods of decisions is what I have as a document. That's no further. Last resort procedure.
Is that the?
That's what I got in tab 9.
That's all I have
All
now.
right. I remember we looked at it today.
6.
I remember
Well,
we
it might be farther, in this one we were just looking at too. Oh, wait, here we go, objective criteria, fair procedures, is that what you
There you
said?
go.
Fair standards criteria. Oh, no, this says take turns, lottery, flip coin, someone else decide. So that is probably not what we're looking for. Objective criteria, okay, here we go, fair standards. Objective criteria, fair standards says, independent of position of either party, legitimate, meaning legal, logical, and principled. Practical, that the standard must be practical and applicable to all parties to the contract. So you apply the fair standards criteria then to the solutions. So first would be independent of position of either party.
Do it on each one of them, though, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, besides independent, what was the next?
Legitimate, meaning if it's legal, logical, and principled, and then practical, and then applicable to all parties to the contract. Well, if you can't make a decision, I mean, You
We're
have to
not
apply
making
it.
Right, yeah.
No, but you can eliminate, I think, you could
Oh,
apply that,
certain
apply the fair
solutions?
standards criteria, discuss the ramifications and applicability, and decide on the best solution to the problem. So you could, I mean, that's probably one way to eliminate things.
Is that practical?
I don't know if that's practical, because I don't know how many parents work, but if only grandparents and others are showing up for music programs during the day, for example, I don't think that may be, if you wanted a lot of parents to come, it's probably not practical. No, that's understandable. So I guess you could just pick anyone and say, if it's
Voluntary probably wouldn't work out either.
Yeah, voluntary.
voluntary is not gonna work either.
Probably wouldn't work either.
Okay.
Shouldn't have any problem with legal.
They all look good.
They're all legal.
Depending on how you write it.
They all look, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. How about practical?
Extend the contract date.
I don't know if that's practical or not.
I don't know if that's
Probably
practical or not, especially with the number of events that are occurring for sports and how many of
Mhm.
our
Right.
extracurriculars are, yeah, that'd be a big
Mhm.
problem for
I mean, if the
extracurriculars.
contract went to 4/30,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be practical for them.
So then you always would be trading off time,
Yeah.
always. So that one is not practical.
I don't think so either.
Got two
Okay.
left. 3.
Well, let me ask you a question. When the grievance was over and you
Mhm.
came up with a decision on the grievance, was that a suitable agreement for you guys on the board level?
I wouldn't say that everyone on the board thought that was a great idea. But we came to a consensus on it and decided this is a way to resolve it. This is one way to resolve it, that because we cannot dig into each individual person's situation and find out. The superintendent already did
Right.
that. So now it's up to our level, and that was one way to deal with it. It seems to me that, I don't know about the applicable to all parties to the contract, if we did the language in the contract, it seems like that's something we should think about and how that would go. I mean, I don't want to eliminate it, because I think we do need to address it, but I just think maybe we can't decide that right now.
Right. Because it is very specific, curriculum that's still very specific to the elementary level, so it wouldn't be applicable to all.
And Dr. Sullivan still needs to find out what's going on at the junior
Okay.
high and the high school.
And are we trying to do a solution for any else? I mean, this isn't
Is it
just
anything?
curriculum night. I mean, it could be anything that would obviously then pop up, correct? So, I mean, we're not just trying to find a solution for curriculum night.
Or are we? So here's a question. What if Mr. Doctor says, Mr. Fay, I need you to be here at 7 o'clock tonight, because this is the only time these parents can meet, and they have to meet with you about your class and the student, and I'm going to require you to be here. Now, is that a situation that's outside your contract, and you should be compensated? So what are we talking? That's another situation. I don't know if that ever happens. I would think but just thinking of possibilities.
About open house.
Or your open
That's
house?
after 3:45.
So your open houses? Your back-to-school nights? Oh, but
I think that
what are we
those
talking
things
about?
that we already have a precedence for, like the open houses, I don't think anybody's disagreeing with, because that's how we started this whole conversation. Was,
Mhm.
we've accepted this, but now here comes this one. And if we accept
Okay.
this one, per se, number 3 or number 2 or whatever it happens to be, when's number 3 coming? And that was how we always
We
started
talked
this, and
about
that's,
that.
and that's the reason why we wanted to solve this problem, so that we don't have 3 and 4 and 5 coming.
Mhm.
And that was one solution I think that was suggested, is have it the same night as open house. Because you're there already, parents are coming to drop their students off, you're done.
Is
I
that,
mean,
So you'd have
that's an
open
idea
house
too.
thing and then later that night do the curriculum?
You'd be there doing the same.
Mhm.
So
at the same time.
this is not the open house when they just bring their school supplies and meet
Right.
their teacher? It's a different time, or is it the same time? Does the
Well,
open house
curriculum
happen
night
later?
was a different time.
Yeah,
Right,
Open
but
house was a
but-
different time.
But the
Yeah.
open house would be the one that,
But why
Make 'em more.
couldn't you? I mean, that was brought up during the grievance
Oh.
procedure. So,
Okay.
just a thought.
Is that,
But that still
I'm not sure
doesn't
that's
solve
something that
this.
we negotiate
So-
here.
still doesn't solve.
Yeah.
I would suggest that Mrs. Schubert's comment becomes another possible solution that should be put up on the list as a brainstorming
Mhm.
alternative, which would be to
Combined.
Okay.
combine it with the open house.
Or any other school activity the parents are
Right.
coming to. How are the open houses well attended? So,
Mhm.
yeah.
But to answer your question, I think that, yes, this is indirect, an effect of curriculum night, but I don't think it should be specific to,
Mhm.
because there are other options, there are other things out there that could come up.
Mhm.
So this would lay the groundwork for precedence for future nights.
Mhm.
So on a practical thing, then, anything that comes up, we can't handle it on open house
Right.
night.
Because with open house, on a curriculum night, were the parents there alone without kids? Open house, parents have kids.
Yeah, because those kids are gonna wanna sit there.
I was gonna say, how would that work? How does that,
So that wouldn't work. Not practical.
It's,
well, I don't know, is it?
I don't know.
You'd have to provide, another place for the students to go during that time period as well.
Mhm.
Mhm. Are there any other events that occur that parents would be coming to, maybe perhaps without their children? But is there any other night that something would be happening that you could put the curriculum night there? It's a great idea. If they're already coming there, why don't you just
Mhm.
do it?
I can't think of any.
Dr. Sullivan, were there any other solutions that have been brought forward that you know of that you bring up here, since you had discussions with many teachers?
During my discussions with the faculty members, I think that this probably encompasses the comments that were made.
Okay. Hmm.
Do you want to come back after he's had a
I was just thinking, I don't know if there's some things there that we can even decide without knowing, like, could you combine curriculum night with open house night? I don't know. I mean, what would you do with the kids? That seems like a bigger problem.
Yeah, and I think our question's actually a little different than just figuring curriculum.
Right, I think it's,
Mhm.
it's more.
So, on these solutions, I mean,
Mhm.
just the process,
Mhm.
we're not figuring this one out all by itself tonight. Are we just doing solutions for all and then we come back again, or how?
No.
how does that-
No.
It says here, solutions, and at the bottom of that one, you
Decide.
decide on the best solution to the
Yeah.
problem, and then you see if you can, I think
Is
then
it
you see if you
ratifiable?
if you get a tentative agreement on it,
Yeah.
if we, yeah. So, I was wondering, since it sounds like we're gonna come back to it, is there any other information we'd want gathered? Like, if you are thinking we would pay out money, then I would think we would need to find out how much that would cost, as an example.
Yeah. On
So
how
is-
pays figured out.
Yeah,
or
so
if
that
it
would
costs
be,
any money for personal days.
yeah, what would be
what
the
it would
cost of
cost.
having a personal day, which I think you probably,
$35 a day.
yeah, so you probably had all that figured from the grievance procedure time, or
So
some of
it-
that. No? Okay.
Somebody who comes in, let's say if it's a quarter day, $25. What's a quarter day for sub?
0.25 of 135. That's what a sub next year will be $135.
$33.75.
How much?
$33.
$33. $33.75. It seems like we need to get that information.
I think that we've whittled down the ones we can't, that are not practical. And we have up there some viable solutions.
And we may come back and find, with all this other information, we may find that there's something that,
Right.
do we want to take a stab at any language? Or do you want a possible language to look at for next time if we're gathering information? Or do you want to wait on that? I'm just asking.
I think I got enough now just
Yeah,
to think about
I
it.
think
for
that's,
one
yeah,
night.
yeah, I would agree.
Okay? Good. Good progress on that.
All right. We're gonna bypass to your contract then?
Yes.
Personal
Okay.
leave next?
Personal leave.
Personal leave.
We don't believe, what?
If I could interrupt just for a second, before the parties go on to personal leave. Was there something in the ground rules about alternating between items for the parties?
I don't think we did that.
Alternating items. Can you
Oh, I
repeat that?
see.
Ms.
Just
Dr.
refers
Sala?
to ours.
Oh, I see.
I thought that got get rolled out, which will come up the list of it, the gas, but doesn't it?
We already prioritized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Priority,
This is our priority, so this is shared.
Yep, because it was 2
Yeah.
and 2, and it should be.
Yep, I think that's, do you see anything in there we need to address? I don't, I think,
No,
I
we
don't.
shared what our priorities are already, so that's kind of where we're at.
I think we're all right on that one. Okay, gotta go back to the minutes now.
10 to 15 would be
Oh my
30
gosh.
days, and 15 plus 15.
Nope, I don't see it.
Okay, here we
I thought there
go.
was something in
To
there.
accumulate the days.
Yeah, so it's just, here's what it's.
And then they would be graduated. Okay. Okay,
Okay,
so,
so, next topic is
Personal leaves. Personal leaves.
do you want to break those into two to talk about, or are we addressing them together? Because you presented
you're
them in
accumulating
two.
all
Well, we
Yeah.
presented them in kind of two, but now,
Cumulative to 8 and then graduated scale.
right.
Currently it's 6, right?
We're right now, we can accumulate to 6. And we think that, with the exception of potential increases in cost of subs, that an increase to 8 would not have an overall big impact money-wise on the district. And it would allow a little more flexibility for teachers who might have someplace, something to do in a year or two to plan and to be able to utilize it without taking day deducts.
Yeah, I don't think it would, I mean, you have those days earned already, I guess.
Right.
What happens right
whether
now
you use
is-
them, right now, if we say I have 4, so I'm going to come in next year, I'll get 6. If I don't use 2 personal days next year, I get compensated based upon sub
So you
pay.
get paid for those days.
I get paid
Is that what happened?
sub
Oh,
pay,
that's-
correct? That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do get paid
Oh,
for
you
those.
do
So
get
there's
paid, so
still
you don't
there's
lose the
we
day-
don't
you
we don't
don't
lose
lose-
the money, but so you're still paying it one way or the other. It's just, would you pay for it this year, either as taking a personal
Or
day,
a sub day.
or next year?
Is there something on where, how many days in a row can you take off right now? I mean, is that kind of what you're thinking if you have an extended, can you
I
take
think
a
there's
week
a-
off?
I don't think there's
Okay.
no limitation.
And what, the history, was there a reason it was 6 before, does anybody know?
I don't know. It's been 6 ever since I've been here.
Since I've been here.
So and then longer than that's a whole lot longer than me.
Well, my only problem with that really is that your classroom teacher is not in the classroom and could be gone for 8 days. That's a long time to have you gone
At one time.
at one, if someone chose to take it a stretch of 8 days. I understand your reasoning,
Mhm.
but I'm real concerned with the learning that goes on in the classroom when you're gone that many days.
I
if you
wonder
choose
how
to
long
take
that
it.
really happens though, just from the standpoint it takes so long to accumulate. I don't know how, if it happens that often anyway, but I could be wrong.
Because it would take, to get up to 8 days, you would have to
4
save
years.
4 years
Mhm.
of not taking a personal day.
Could, I'm just wondering, could we ask Mr. Reeve just to research how many people take all their leave at one time? Do you know? Like, do people actually save it up and take all 6 days? Do that?
I personally do. Yeah, I have family in California, so it's hard
Yeah.
to,
Big vacation.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't be there and take 2 days and come back.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes me 3 years to take a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you have this-
I'd have to look at the leave records
I'm just
to see if they were consecutive days. And the other part, a lot of times when people do that, they connect it then with
With
teacher
Christmas.
convention
Yeah.
or
Oh, sure.
Christmas
With something
yeah.
else, yeah.
or spring break, so that it's
To get
more
more.
than 8 days. It's
So you can almost.
8 contract days,
Right.
but it might be.
Right.
It technically comes
Might be
to
2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be a long vacation.
I'm not dead set against it. I'd just like to see, what's the effect on kids if we do the 3 days and then the 4 days? I mean, so there's a lot of extra days there that the actual teacher isn't in that classroom. So, I mean, I'm not personally dead set against it because I know businesses do that too, but how many days extra is that subs are in there
Mm-hmm.
versus what there are now? I mean, is there an effect gonna be there for students or what,
Well, kids want their teacher. It's hard on kids to have subs. And I don't know that, years ago, Mr. Fay could always have this sub all the time. I think it's just difficult to find subs now, so you may get someone who could turn on the movie for one time, but what would you get for 8 days? And I would think, that would make me uncomfortable as a teacher, it makes me uncomfortable as a parent.
I have I think the problem statement was, to retain,
Reward.
Reward.
Teacher.
Yep. So,
Mhm.
and all that goes along with salary too, what
would be the cost?
what cost, but also what do surrounding schools do, I mean, are we in line or do we need to catch up? So I don't know what other
Mhm.
Class A schools currently do.
Believe one of them is 10.
Yeah.
Accumulate to 10.
Who is that? Who lets them accumulate up to
Believe-
10? Wow.
I believe that's Minot.
Oh,
I did.
okay.
I would agree with this.
Okay, well, I just thought about that, we didn't put all of our potential
Oh,
solutions
yeah.
up there. But are we
Oh,
just talking
sorry.
about these solutions?
Yeah.
I just thought,
Oh,
are these the only ones we're gonna talk about? Or is there, you're asking for cumulative to 8? So,
The solution would be either yes or no.
yes or no?
well, you could, I suppose you could say cumulative to 8,
Or
but you
7,
could say,
or-
or 7, but you could also say only so many could be taken at one time.
Yep.
That would be a potential.
Oh, that,
Yeah.
You could
yeah,
take,
you could.
you could take up to 6, which is now, and then that'd be a possibility, I don't know.
What'd you say?
I heard it.
What does he say?
I don't
That's not practical. Okay.
I don't know.
I think that's a good solution. Yeah, that's another. It's
Another- it's an
a
idea.
solution. It's
Okay.
an idea to increase it, but then limit the maximum number you can take in a row.
Because
Maybe
you could take
something
a
along
week
the lines
off
of
and then
a.
still have days left.
And you
Teacher
still
should never
have-
be
right,
gone for more than a
Yeah.
week. I don't know. A
Yeah.
week's a long time.
Yeah, it is.
Especially,
Yeah.
I'm just speaking for second grade. That's a really long time to be away from my kids. But maybe
Yeah.
you just say
Yeah, and most
no more than
teachers.
5 at a time, I don't.
are professional enough that they're not doing it, but, you know, if somebody were to win a trip,
Yeah, well, I can see you'd want 5, so you can take a week off,
Yeah.
but you also want some in reserve for later in the year if you have one day you need to take off or something.
Absolutely.
Or this or that.
Well,
Absolutely.
man, didn't we talk about this for a long time, a couple years ago, and just talking about that, how much do people actually use? Do people actually burn it all, or do they save it?
That was the cumulative
Yeah.
use for emergency, and when we
Yeah.
researched it, it was un poquito,
You don't
Yeah.
have too many
Okay.
emergencies come up, hopefully.
Yeah.
where
okay.
they had to burn their bank time.
Where they burned their, where, yeah, they needed
Which
to
we
pull
changed,
into that.
and as we said,
it-
rarely happens.
Yeah, okay, so that's one solution.
yeah.
Is it in 1 year usage or is it in
Well,
one time
in-
To
usage?
limit,
One.
In
You can
one
only
year.
use X in one contract year.
mhm.
I think that's what I heard.
No, I mean, if you could take like
But
5.
But limit
how
the
many in a
number of
row?
days
The
How many in
amount
a
that
row?
are consecutive.
to limit consecutive days.
Let's just get one person talking at a time,
all right.
because you're confusing your recorder.
Limit what?
Consecutive usage days.
Okay.
Okay.
Looks good.
Got it.
And you didn't talk about a number.
No.
No,
No. I think that right now, they could take all 6 in a row if they wanted to. I don't know how many do, but they could.
mhm.
So one solution would be keep it the way it is. And
Yeah,
they
well,
can
one
use
solution would
this.
be no change.
No
No
change.
change.
No change from the current contract, it's 6
And the other
That's
one
where
would
it
be
stays.
all 8 or?
Mhm.
Maybe,
And the other one would be all 8 with no contingencies too. Just write 8, not.
All 8.
Okay. What about the graduated one?
Is that good on the cumulative
Yeah.
days?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
just a question, is 8 the magic number, or would it be,
I think you guys proposed 8.
Yeah, we did the 8.
is that?
Yeah.
So that's why we just did 8. I mean, that's why I'm talking about it. Okay, so if you're gonna talk about the graduated ones, can we just, tell us what's happening now?
Currently, right now, everybody
Um,
gets,
If I could
Okay.
intervene, we have like 12 minutes,
Okay,
and I know that school board members have another obligation in 12 minutes.
okay,
So my suggestion is to debrief and set an agenda and see if we can find a meeting time for the next meeting.
that's fine,
Does that work for the parties?
yes.
Okay. So just to debrief the discussion that has transpired tonight, parties reviewed and approved the minutes from July 16th. Parties reviewed the problem statements that were written at the previous meeting and concluded writing the problem statements for the topics that have not been addressed on July 16th. Started the discussion of the topics for negotiations, and 2 topics have been discussed with some possible solutions for both topics identified. First would be outside of the contract day compensation, and second would be half of the personal leave discussion. And I think that's it.
Well, we did take those 2 topics to discuss later, even though they're pretty high on our priorities.
Salaries and 2-year contracts,
Correct.
yeah, were
Yeah.
discussed, were decided to be
Yeah.
discussed at a later date,
Yes.
yes.
And then I think do you want to mention that we've asked for some additional information on both those topics?
And Mr. Reap will take a look at the leave information and distribute that to the committee members as soon as he has that available.
So I'm clear, you
Good.
wanted consecutive days used? Like if you've ever used 5 in a row?
Right.
Or Jim, the most, All
Well,
6, is that what you're looking for?
we'll just, I guess, just find out. I mean, yeah, what do we want to know about, what do we want to know?
Are people taking all 6 in a row right now?
Yeah, I think so.
How often are people taking all 6 in a row? Because that might then affect
You wanna put a limit
the
on
first
it.
solution, or the first topic that we have up there.
I would say so. Yep, I would say so. And then was there information on the, outside the contract day that we wanted him to gather? It seems to me we asked him
That was
something.
what-
I will get
what-
that
Oh, you're
Mr.
getting
Doctor,
that?
yes.
Okay,
Mr.
so you're
Doctor
getting that,
and
okay.
Dr. Luton.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect, okay. Okay,
I have another, would it be hard to find out those that don't take the personal and are compensated instead
Yeah.
also?
well, that's fine, yeah, that's fine, yeah, we
I
can.
mean, to compare who's using all and who isn't using?
Payroll could pull that up for the last 3 years and a couple each years.
And would it,
So they sell them back at some.
Right.
Yeah.
so we would probably just be, you'd be looking at the ones who would, who were losing, who would be losing that carryover.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And, okay. Okay.
I'm guessing if we went to 8, those people would still lose it if they're not taking it, they're
Yeah.
not taking it.
Yeah.
Right, I would guess so. Okay.
But
Okay.
it just gives us a perspective of,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Is there anything else under debriefing? In keeping with my practice, I did skip over other.
Cool.
Works for me.
I think you're safe. I think you're safe tonight.
Okay, trying to schedule the next meeting date and time.
Are there suggestions?
What works for you the first week of August, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, somewhere in there?
What do you have? Are you
Wednesday
gone?
would be the best.
Wednesday's the best for you?
Yep.
Are you gone?
Well, I can make it the beginning or the end of the week. so-
Oh, okay. So
One way, that's why
Wednesday-
Wednesday would be best.
Wednesday, the 5th is the best for you?
And that's because we have coaches convention that affects
Yes, I forgot
next
that.
week, that affects most
Okay.
of us.
Yeah, we just have I have a teacher luncheon on there. Do you guys have orientation for new teachers? Is the 5th new teacher luncheon, I think? But that's at noon.
That's at noon.
Twyla, what do I have for the week of August 3 through?
For the
6?
5th.
For
Mostly-
August 5th.
Yeah.
You're free to open. Late, we're talking later in the day.
I'm assuming
4
4 o'clock.
o'clock.
Yeah.
You're good.
Okay.
Check the
Okay.
boardroom.
Okay, we'll check the meeting room. Well, we may have to find a different, do we want to find a different location?
We'll get one, yeah.
We'll find a different location, anticipating that there may be additional people who are coming to hear the conversation now that we're getting closer. So,
Yep. that
yeah,
works.
Jason will take care of the room then. So we'll stay tuned for finding a spot. Then the boardroom can be just open, and we don't have to, with all the
Schedule around it.
orientations they're getting into.
What time?
So we
4
have a
o'clock.
meeting scheduled for 4 PM, August 5th. Mr. Hanson will send the location to Mrs. Peterson, and Mrs. Peterson will send out an email so that everybody knows what the location of the meeting will be. We will include Mr. Smith in that email so that he can distribute it to the DEA.
That sounds reasonable. Yes. Okay.
We're good.
Whoops. That's a funny way to push the wrong button on your phone.
Okay,
This is one.
That's yours, yeah.
if
I'm
there's
gonna get a
nothing else, the
copy.
meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. If I could just get a copy of that, of those signed minutes for my record, that would be great. I'm gonna put this back in with, look at that, I didn't even need to dig into my
No,
snap.
good.
Yeah, you're good. I didn't
Back in there?
have a big steak.
Stay with you, yeah.
No, no.